Our forces have been at the forefront, donning multiple hats. We are in one such dark phase, but our forces have been at the forefront trying to uplift the spirit of the nation. Joining me today is the Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat. So thank you very much for speaking to Republic Media Network. Let me begin by asking you what we witnessed today, the idea behind the fly past, also military bands that were playing at various hospitals. There have been naysayers who have even criticized this entire move that has been made. How do you essentially look at it?
The nation has always supported the armed forces whenever any action has been initiated by us. And this time we felt that it were the Corona warriors who are in the front line managing everything, trying to ensure that the people of our nation get succor and support at the time of need. So it was then decided that why don't we come out with something which supports these Corona warriors, keeps them motivated to move on along in the months ahead. Let me tell you, to say that Corona is now going to be over, there are still doubts on that. Medical professionals or other people who are supporting them, workmen behind this force, the police, the NGOs, and of course the media. I think we still have a long way to go. And therefore, it was time we felt that we need to motivate these Corona warriors and tell them that the nation stands solidly behind you. You've been through difficult times, you still have to carry on. And just to ensure that they remain motivated and continue to work on in the manner in which they have done thus far, we decided on doing these things.
Let me then ask you, General Rawat, that with regards to the challenges, how exactly are the armed forces strategizing, given the fact that in times of such pandemic, it becomes even more difficult for the armed forces to operate? How exactly are you dealing with that?
We have ensured that our frontline soldiers remain isolated from the people who are getting infected. And to that we have developed standard operating procedures to ensure that we maintain social distancing. We are also ensuring that anybody who is returning to forward areas, whether it is on termination of their leave or termination of their courses or on some other essential duties like posting turnovers that are happening, people are quarantined for 14 days. They are then medically examined and only then are they being sent to the front line. So this kind of distancing that we are doing and isolation that we are carrying out to make sure that nobody in the front line ever gets affected is something which has helped us in good stead. And let me tell you that so far none of our frontline soldiers, sailors or airmen have been affected by this virus.
You know, General Rawat, as the military adage goes, that you essentially preparing for the worst, hope for the best. So assuming if the situation worsens from here, how exactly does the armed forces chip in, or how exactly is the armed forces preparing themselves to at least, put up their entire preparedness or, step up their entire preparedness?
We have planned various contingencies, working with the government. There are various models being worked out. And we have plans to step up support if at all it is required. As of now, we've been given certain fixed numbers as to what kind of isolation and quarantine facilities we have to create. We have been successful in creating these facilities. But yet, in spite of that, day by day we are trying to increase our capacities so that in case a surge does happen, we should not be found wanting at that time. At the same time, we have to ensure that our own people do not get affected by this virus, because if we get affected, then how do we come and support the people of our nation, our states, our governments? And so everything that is being done is a whole of a government approach. Our soldiers who are in the front line, our people who are in the rear areas are constantly in touch with the state governments. Our local commanders are in fact speaking to the health authorities, are in contact with the chief secretaries, and we are seeing how together we can work forward And in case a surge is required, we remain prepared for that.
Let me also talk a little bit about the kind of initiatives that have already been taken so far. We've seen at the start of it with the kind of evacuations that have been done by the Indian Air Force, and thereafterwards also just yesterday we saw the hospitals that were set up at the Chinar Corps. How exactly are you all taking it forward from there in terms of, say for example, if at all there's a need for more evacuations, is the Navy, is the Army as well as the Air Force prepared to do so if the numbers actually increase?
See, you would have seen what the government has done very recently. There are trains that are taking the people who are stuck up here in various places, especially the workforce which had lost their employment. The support has been given to them to make sure that they reach their homes.
Right.
So what are we doing? Basically, we are creating capacities. Because we do feel that it is in these areas that anybody who has to be evacuated will need support. So even if you have to evacuate the diaspora, which is today working abroad, a large number of those people will come into Delhi and areas around Mumbai, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, because this is where the major workforce belongs to, that is operating abroad. So I think by moving of these people, which has happened, we are indirectly creating space. At the same time, we've also been asked to create additional space, which we have created. We've also got some specialized COVID hospitals, which are being actually as of now lying vacant to cater for this surge capacity. These have been created in northern areas, in the southern sector, eastern, western, and in central India. So we are pretty much prepared for any surge should that be required. And it's not that the services are working in isolation. We are working along with the government agencies, with the state government. It is being regularly monitored, let me tell you, by no less an organization than the PMO, the Cabinet Secretary, the Minister for Health and Family Welfare. I mean, it is at that level that things are happening. There are GOMs happening. A GOM under the Minister of Health, a GOM under our own Raksha Mantri. Our own Raksha Mantri is regularly taking updates on our own preparations, talking directly to our commanders and chiefs from the three services to appreciate their work and at the same time encourage them to keep on moving ahead and creating capacities to support the state governments and the people of our nation.
General Rawat, I also want you to tell our viewers the kind of challenges today that perhaps the armed forces actually face. It's not only about providing the capacity building, it is also at the time when you're trying to protect our borders, you are still doing the kind of work that is required for coronavirus. How difficult, how challenging it has been, especially for the armed forces, which has always believed in community living. For them, how different, how challenging is it?
Well, one has to always remain prepared for these challenges. And I think it's the training that helps us, the motivation levels. The fact that the commanders constantly stay with their troops and the men they command, that is where I think lies the strength of the armed forces. We work together, we go through ups and downs together, we have our good days and we have our not so good days. So we have to work together and make sure that there is never a bad day in the armed forces.
You know, I was also reading about the very fact that the idea of community living, for the army it has always been together, be it the kitchen, be it where they are staying. How difficult it has been, especially social distancing in peacetime keeping areas where the training is actually taking place. Is it very difficult, or there have been new methods that have been put in place?
There are some lessons also that have emerged from this. You know, we've been talking a lot about distance learning, e-learning. A lot of those practices have now started taking shape. And a large number of our training courses, especially which are, more theory oriented and not so much practical oriented, we are conducting classes in such a manner that we resort to distance learning. Packages are being sent to students wherever they are, and the instructors have been assigned to them, and that is how we are gradually moving forward. What we've done is we've also modified some of our courses where you have theory and practical classes which have to be conducted. We are trying to conduct the theory classes first, and we said, okay, we'll do the practical classes at a later time when maybe this problem starts diminishing. So various modifications have been done to our training schedule. Well, we've ensured that no collective training will be carried out, because if we carry out collective training, then to ensure social distancing becomes difficult. But then it doesn't affect because the soldiers are trained at all times. Collective training is only done to check the efficacy from time to time and check the efficacy of the leaders who have been appointed in various positions. It is to check their performance that we do this collective training. There are other means of checking their qualities of leadership, their efficacy in various fields, and we'll adopt to those measures.
General Rawat, I would also like to talk about the current situation. Today, undoubtedly, it's a sad day for the entire nation. We've lost 5 brave men. Anti-terror operations still continue. And what we're given to understand that Pakistan still continues with their entire operations, and there seems to be no let up as far as activities from the border is concerned. How do you essentially view what has happened today, the operation and also the activity on the border itself?
We are all aware that Pakistan continues to provide support to terrorists. All attempts are made to train them, prepare them for infiltration in whatever way possible, and then carry out violence in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. I think they are getting frustrated with the kind of peace they are witnessing in the state or in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. And this frustration is compelling them to ensure that they up the ante. And we were always prepared for this. We had anticipated this, that when they see peace returning into the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, they will attempt excessive infiltration. They will try and make sure that people there do not live in peace, because they have to always try and say that we support you, support the people of Jammu and Kashmir. But is this the way they support them? And I think we will finally be successful in exposing them. Pakistan is gradually getting isolated as far as terrorism is concerned. Today's operation has been a sad operation in the sense that these soldiers have laid down their lives in the true traditions of the Indian Army and the police forces. These 5 brave soldiers have carried out their duties in the manner in which they were expected to perform. They had to ensure that the terrorists who had infiltrated do not carry out violence amongst the civil population that was there near Handwara. They have successfully accomplished their mission in eliminating these terrorists who had infiltrated from across. But in the bargain, we have lost a commanding officer, 1 field officer, 2 more jawans, and a police inspector. I would like to use this opportunity to commend them for their bravery. At the same time, express condolences to the families of these 5 brave personnel who have laid down their lives upholding the true traditions of the armed forces, of the police, and ensuring that these terrorists who are infiltrating from across do not succeed in their mission of creating mayhem amongst the population of Jammu and Kashmir, and that peace and normalcy continues to remain in Jammu and Kashmir, and the people benefit from what the government is doing for them.
Can I ask you with regards to the fear, the concern that many would have, weaponization of this entire virus itself? We have seen, be it in COVID-19, at times of COVID-19, nothing has really changed from the Pakistani side. Infiltration attempts has just only increased. It does appear that perhaps Valley is going to see a hot summer this time.
Well, after the winter gets over, the summer months have always been utilized for infiltration. This is not a new phenomena. In fact, this year, though, even in winter, they attempted some infiltration attempts. And as they've been doing in the past, they have done so. We are trying to make sure that we counter this infiltration by increasing our presence on the line of control along the fence. At the same time, we have to ensure that we follow the social distancing norms because we don't want our people to get affected. So I think Pakistan is trying to take advantage of this situation in attempting to infiltrate terrorists. At the same time, they've also been hit hard. There have been some actions that have been taken by our security forces, particularly in 15 and 16 Corps, where the terrorist bases have been affected. And I think it is just to avenge those casualties that they have suffered that they are attempting this kind of an operation.
But worldwide, General Rawat, we have seen how military has basically changed also, given the kind of pandemic that one is witnessing. Do you see any sort of change when it comes to Pakistan in the way they are battling coronavirus, or any change whatsoever, or it's the same? The narrative Their story still remains the same.
See, they can't change the narrative because the army in Pakistan survives on an anti-India hatred, and they have always informed their population, the people of their country, that the army is here to safeguard their people within and to ensure the safety and security of the Kashmiris in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. A lot of false propaganda has been spread. In fact, if you look at the Pakistan Army's Green Book, which is given to every young officer when he gets commissioned, it only talks of hatred against India. So I think the essence of Pakistan Army lies in propagating this hatred against the Indian Army and India and trying to show a facade of their solidarity with the people of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. I think it is higher time for the people of the state to themselves understand what Pakistan is up to. Pakistan will only pull back if the people of the state of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir fully understand Pakistan's game plan. I think they have seen some peace now. We haven't seen too much of violence in the valley. And with that, I think it is beginning to dawn on the people that peace is the best form of livelihood for them. But then there are some rumblings within because of the social media, because of the negative information that keeps flowing, the false information that keeps flowing into the valley through various means. And there are some groups who are still trying to perpetrate violence because, as I say, there are some people whose shops have started closing. And these people whose shops have started to close have to find ways and means of reopening their shops. So they will always try and work with Pakistan to foment trouble in the valley.
Is this a cause of concern for the armed forces with the fact that there are certain terrorist groups which are emerging, like the TRF in itself? Is it a cause of concern, or is it just yet another propaganda which is something that the armed forces can easily handle?
You see, when you are succeeding in defeating terrorism and you find that a particular group is now nearing extinction, to revive that group becomes very difficult. Because people don't have faith in the group, saying that either the group has been compromised or the leadership is losing control over the group, or the security forces have an upper hand in ensuring the elimination of that group. So then they come out with some other subsidiaries. It has always happened. If you look at the way terrorism has been perpetrated in Jammu and Kashmir, we've seen the evolution of groups, one group being splintered into a number of other groups or a new group taking shape. So this is Pakistan's way of just trying to keep the people under control and trying to create new groups, especially when they find that a particular group is losing heart, their motivation levels are low, they don't have leadership, and that is how new groups start emerging.
General Rawat, I'd like to also focus a little bit about what happens post-corona and how exactly is the military dealing with those challenges that one will have to face. One area of concern that many veterans have also raised is, say for instance, procurement. Do we look at a delay, for instance, in the case of the RFP of the 114 MMRCA, or for that matter, the training of the Rafale teams, a delay in that. Is that a cause of concern or something that has already been taken into consideration and there is already a preparedness for that too?
See, we are reprioritizing what we need to do. So through our reprioritization, we will be able to ensure that the preparedness does not affect, the modernization process that is ongoing is not affected. There will be some delays because, the Rafale was to come in by this month. The French themselves have said there will be some delays. So we understand these delays. So a couple of months delays will not affect our performance. As far as the financial backing is concerned, we are trying to save from one side to make way for the other. So there are some unnecessary trappings which we are trying to avoid and making sure that there is no wasteful expenditure. As you know, that a large number of expenditures that we would have incurred due to various other activities that we would have carried out have not happened. So already we are witnessing some savings. These savings will go on to make sure that we put the money into the place where it matters.
In terms of budgeting also, many would say that are we also staring at some sort of a budget cut or a financial difficulties that the military is going to face in the days to come? Is this something that one needs to brace, that there could be a slim possibility of changing in the way we are operating? Say, for example, the training when it happens during peacetime, the way it used to be done earlier, it will have to change, it will have to evolve with time. Do you foresee that?
We have over the last couple of years made plans to see how we can manage the budget in a better manner. And I think those processes can now be, I would say, speeded up, fast-tracked, to ensure that while the government may cut down some of our budget, we can also walk the talk and do something better to ensure that the budget is better managed. And here I would like to highlight, we are looking at IBGization. When we look at IBGization, we are looking at creation of little smaller forces than what they are. And these forces mean the formation that we have deployed along our borders. We cut down the tail and depend more on outsourcing, or we depend on the logistic support being given by the holding formations, or we would say the sub-areas and areas, and we increase the teeth. So here itself you will find that there is some manpower savings, there are some equipment savings, because we are going to be reorganizing. So the IBG itself is one of the ways. The other thing is, we are seriously contemplating increasing the ages of retirement of our soldiers in a gradual manner. So you will witness that there may be lesser retirements over the next couple of years. Of course, those retirements will then get affected maybe 4 to 5 years later, but then this will also help you manage the budget. In fact, our mission is to bring this policy of extension of tenures into place as early as January 21. And we are together with the other services, we have the 3 defense services, we are working in this direction.
Hi everyone, I'm Sucharita Kukreti. Thanks for checking out Republic World. If you would like to watch more show highlights and live coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the Republic World News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.